This presentation highlights the importance of vitamin intake for optimal immune function in athletes in direct relation to performance. To begin, we'll start with a brief overview of the immune system. The immune system is essentially the bouncer of our bodies. It consists of numerous cells and tissues that are constantly on patrol for unwanted invaders. These unwelcome invaders can include infectious microbes such as viruses and bacteria that make us sick. The immune system targets and destroys these pathogens. The stronger one's immune system, the less likely they'll get sick. A commonly known method for enhancing one's immune system involves the intake of vitamins. Nobel Prize winner in physiology or medicine Albert Szent-Györgyi, who is known for research involving vitamin C, said, "A vitamin is a substance that makes you ill if you don't eat it." Vitamins take on many roles in their influence on the body as a whole, but here we'll focus on its influence on the efficiency of the immune system. These include lymphocyte activation and proliferation, T helper cell differentiation, production of antibodies, and overall regulation of the immune system. There are 13 vitamins your body needs to sustain life, and these must come from food as our bodies do not produce them. Here is a brief list of the 13 vitamins with common food sources to obtain them. The overall trend seen for ingesting an adequate amount of these vitamins revolves around the intake of raw fruits and vegetables.
Vitamin and minerals play an important role in energy production, hemoglobin synthesis, maintenance of bone health, adequate immune function, and protection of the body against oxidative damage. Vitamins also assist with synthesis and repair of muscle tissue during recovery from exercise and injury. Exercise stresses many of the metabolic pathways where micronutrients are required, and exercise training may result in muscle biochemical adaptations that increase micronutrient needs. Routine exercise may also increase the turnover and loss of these micronutrients from the body. As a result, greater intakes of micronutrients may be required to cover increased needs for building, repair, and maintenance of lean body mass, especially in athletes. Some of the most common vitamins and minerals found to be of concern in athletes' diets are calcium and vitamin D, the B vitamins, iron, zinc, magnesium, and as well as some antioxidants such as vitamin C, E, beta-carotene, and selenium.
As maximum sports performance is more and more carefully analyzed and dictated by professional and college teams, one of the most basic nutrients is emerging as something that may give athletes an edge: vitamin D. WSJ reporter Rachel Bachman and Randy Bird, director of sports nutrition at the University of Virginia, join us now to discuss. Rachel and Randy, welcome to both of you. Rachel, let me start with you. In your reporting, how prevalent is vitamin D becoming as a recommended supplement for athletes? And is this just part of a larger push to maximize performance?
It is part of a larger push. Some teams also test for things like magnesium and iron levels, but vitamin D has really become an emphasis, and I've found people in all major sports leagues, the U.S. men's and women's soccer team, and of course in college sports that are testing their athletes for vitamin D levels and in some cases supplementing them.
So interesting. So Randy, how important do you personally believe vitamin D is to performance, and what is the daily dose you recommend to UVA athletes?
Sure, I think it's extremely important, not just to performance, but overall health. We recommend 2,000 units, international units of vitamin D every day, and that's something I make available to our athletes here.
And that's something you've been doing for several years, correct?
Yes, it is. Ever since arriving at UVA in 2010, I've implemented a policy that we can provide 2,000 international units of vitamin D to all of our athletes.
That sounds great. Now, Rachel, what is the science? What do studies of vitamin D and athletes tell us? And what about the larger studies of vitamin D on military populations?
Well, the two most interesting studies, I think, are more recent ones on the NFL Steelers and Giants. And those show quite a strong association between muscle and bone injuries and vitamin D deficiency. And so there might be some real breakthroughs to be made in getting players up to optimal vitamin D ranges. And as far as the larger studies, those are quite small studies. Larger studies with military populations show a decrease in stress fractures when soldiers are given calcium and vitamin D supplementation.
Interesting. Now, Randy, what are the ways that you recommend getting vitamin D? I mean, of course you can take it in a supplement, but is it better to get it from food or from the sun? And I'm just curious about sunblock. We're told to wear it in the sun. Does that mean we're also blocking vitamin D?
Sure. I always have a food first philosophy. So if we can get it from our food, that would be optimal. The problem is most of our foods do not have enough vitamin D. Wild salmon probably has the most vitamin D, and it has about 900 units per serving, but I'm targeting 2,000. So odds of getting enough is very slim.
So there's no danger of getting too much?
There's still a chance for toxicity, but you have to get extremely high levels of vitamin D for toxic levels. And then as far as your question about sunblock, sunblock blocks UV rays. It's the UV rays that interact with the D cholesterol in our skin that convert to vitamin D. So yes, sunblock blocks vitamin D. So it's still safe. Safest thing would be to put on sunblock, protect your skin, but take a vitamin D supplement.
All right, there you have it. Now, Rachel, are athletes with darker skin in danger of having lower vitamin D levels, and why is that?
They are. In fact, they often do have lower D levels, and that's because dark skin blocks this process we talked about with the sun. The sun, ingests, the skin essentially ingests the sun and converts it to D in the body. And so the African-American athletes, for instance, are at a higher risk of vitamin D deficiency.
Vitamin D recently has been recognized as an important regulator of inflammation and immunity. Specifically, vitamin D upregulates gene expression of broad-spectrum antimicrobial peptides. There was a study done on college athletes, and they assessed their vitamin D status. The vitamin D status came back as poor and was associated with increased frequency of documented illness, which included the common cold, influenza, and gastroenteritis. Given the established role of vitamin D in bone health, and the more recently recognized role in immunity, inflammation, and chronic disease prevention, it is imperative that sports nutritionists and physicians routinely assess vitamin D status and make appropriate recommendations. Recent research has provided evidence to suggest that maintaining adequate vitamin D status may reduce stress fracture risk, total body inflammation, and common illness, as well as impaired muscle function. However, research is needed to determine whether insufficient vitamin D status increases an athlete's risk for injury, and whether vitamin D supplementation can affect athletic training and improve overall health and performance. Calcium is the staple vitamin known as a nutrient that promotes healthy bone growth and strength. However, the role of calcium in the body is not limited to the parameters of bone health. It also includes muscle contraction, heartbeat regulation, nerve impulse conduction, regulation of blood pressure, and water balance, and other functions such as cell division, immune function, energy and fat metabolism, and the transport of nutrients across cell membranes. Athletes require special attention with regard to calcium needs and adequate dietary calcium intake. Although promoting bone health and preventing osteoporosis is very important for this particular group, there are even further considerations for dietary calcium intake for athletes. Factors such as weight-bearing exercise, electrolytes lost via sweat, and the female athlete triad must be considered in relation to calcium needs and dietary calcium intake. There is oftentimes an assumption that the more the better with regard to vitamin and mineral intake among individuals, and especially among athletes, is always the way to go. It is encouraged that athletes do pay attention to their vitamin intake and levels. The most important message to athletes is to consume a diet adequate in energy, protein, fat, vitamin, minerals, and fluids to support the physical demands and replenish the physiological losses incurred within physical training. Having a balanced and healthy diet and maintaining vitamin levels might just improve your performance to get that next win or to hit that training goal.